page 9. So this is a two-step. Remember, if we get rid of our constants from both sides, well, if we subtract 26 from the left, we have to subtract 26 from the right. That's to get rid of our constant that's on the variable side, right? This leaves us with negative 1/2 of c is less than negative, what is that? Negative 4. Now remember, bless you, to get a coefficient of 1, when we have a fraction, we have to multiply by the reciprocal. Remember, that means we're flipping this fraction. So not only are we multiplying by 2 over 1, but we want to multiply by negative 2 over 1 because we want it to be positive 1, right? So I'm multiplying both sides by negative 2. Remember, when I multiply or divide by a negative number, I have to flip my sign. This is page 9. Should have been the last page you did yesterday. All right, so here, these would cancel out. Negative times a negative is positive, so positive 1c we write as c. And then negative 4 times negative 2 is a positive 8. So then I'm thinking 8 minus 3 is about 5. So I might say 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Opened or closed at 8. Open and to the right. Very good. All right, so this is like another one. So this was like one of the examples we did here for number 6. And this one, so we did one like it here. And we did a couple like this one, this next one here, like number 12. So the first thing we have to undo is the dividing by negative 2. So when I multiply both sides by negative 2, remember multiplying or dividing by a negative means my sign gets flipped. So negative 2 times 1 is negative 2, right? That cancels out my denominator, and I'm left with a plus 7. So then when I go to solve for a, I'm getting rid of the 7. So I have negative 9 is greater than a. Remember, to help me with my graph, I'm going to write my letter first. And I notice it's eating the 9, negative 9, so I need to keep it that way. If I am subtracting 9, I'm going to negative 12, negative 11, negative 10, negative 9, negative 8, negative 7, negative 6. So opened or closed is a negative 9. Open. And this time to the left. All right. Let's look at one more just so we've got the whole fraction thing down a bit. Yes. 8 on page 8. 8 is just like the one we just did. So you would multiply both sides by 2, and then you're left with k minus 7 is greater than negative 10. It was just like that one. So here, I would get rid of my constant, right? So I'm going to add 16 to both sides. That leaves me with 3 is greater than or equal to 1/4 r. Remember, to make a fraction 1, we can multiply it by its reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 1/4 is 4 over 1. So if I multiply both sides by 4, I have 12 is greater than or equal to r. It's still 3, right? All right. So is 12 greater than or equal to 9? Yes. Yes. Is 12 greater than or equal to 10? Yes. 11? 12 is greater than or equal to 11. It's greater than 11 and it's greater than or equal to 12. So it should be all of them except for 13. Remember, if it's easier for you to think of it as that number is less than or equal to 12, you could rewrite it that way. So anything less than or equal to 12 works. 13 would not, because it would be greater than. You do have to use that brain power there. All right, so if you're missing some of those other ones, you can come back and complete those. We are moving to the super duper tricky parts. All right, so sometimes it's very straightforward, sometimes it's not. So if it says less than, we know the sign, right? We know we're using this less than. So if it is 9, oh no, gosh, we're not using the less than. Good gravy. This is really tricky because this is 9 less than 9 times a number is at least 36. Lord have mercy. All right. Are you ready? So first we have 9 less than 9 times a number. So 9 times a number would be 9n, right? How would I figure out what 9 less than that is? Subtract 9. So I would say minus 9. That's kind of a turnaround fact. Is at least 36. So we've got something and 36 here. So if it's at least 36, then it must be 36 or more. So what symbol would help us with 36 or more? Okay. Greater than, good. So greater than or equal to. If it's at least 36, it could be 36. But it could be more, right? So that was our inequality. Sorry, I got way ahead of myself there. So now we would solve it. 9 minus 9. I'm sorry, 9n minus 9 is greater than or equal to 36. So when I add 9 to both sides, I have 9n is greater than or equal to 45. So then I would divide both sides by 9 to get 1n is greater than or equal to 5.
It's like the same thing, but that's like wording is confusing.
All right, this one's weird too. The sum of 4 and a number. So we have 4 plus a number, right? Divided by 2. So this is where they give you this divided by 2. Smells like a dead mouse because there were 2 dead mice in here this morning.
Is that what Lola was talking about this morning?
And like my corner, I feel like still smells, but
It's so bad. It smells like old. Has anyone put any cleaning stuff on it?
is less than -6. So we're gonna say less than -6. That translates okay, right? So now we're gonna solve this. Remember, we have to undo that dividing by 2 first before we can attack the 4 plus n. So if I multiply both sides by 2, it cancels this out. So I can get 4 plus n by itself. Oop, -12. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just rewriting that. And then I would just subtract 4 from both sides. So n is less than -16. All right, these are definitely going to be the most challenging. -5 plus triple a number. Can you do that? -5 plus triple a number. How would I write triple a number?
3n.
3n, perfect. is no more than 16. So when we're thinking of a limit, it has to be less than or equal to 16. So then I would solve -5 plus 3n is less than or equal to 16. So I would get rid of my constant on the variable side first by taking the opposite of it from both sides. This leaves me with 3n is less than or equal to 21. When I divide both sides by my coefficient, n is less than or equal to 7. Oh boy, the difference of 8 and 6 times a number. So because it says the difference, we're going to put a subtraction symbol where and is. If it was saying like the total or the sum, we would be putting a plus there. If it said the product, we would be putting a multiplication sign there, right? So we're going to see 8 minus 6 times a number. So I would say 8 minus 6, and bless you, is a minimum of 68. So it could be equal to 68, or it could be more or less. Which? If it's a minimum, it's got to be more. A maximum would have to be less, like a limit.
The maximum weight in an elevator is 1,100 pounds.
Yeah, exactly.
1,000 pounds.
So this is going to be one of those where we have to pay close attention to our symbol because we're going to have to flip it, right? So if I get rid of my constant that's on the variable side, so I'm trying to get that n by itself, I'm left with -6n is greater than or equal to 60.
Wait. That's not a lot for an elevator.
This is not an elevator. She was just giving you an example of something else that we did the other day.
The other day?
All right, so if I divide by a negative, I'm left with n. Since I'm dividing by a negative, I've got to flip my sign. -10. Less than or equal to -10.
That's cute.
Cute. Oh boy.
What about that?
We were talking about the maximum weight of an elevator the other day when we were translating. Yeah, this is translating. We're translating from words to math. All right, 8 plus. We can do that, right? 8 plus 1/4 of a number. So I'm literally writing 1/4 n. And this translates nicely, is less than or equal to 6. We can do that, right? We've been practicing. 8 plus 1/4 n is less than or equal to 6. So I would get rid of my constant first. And then I'm left with 1/4 n is less than or equal to -2. Remember, to change a fraction into 1, I multiply by its reciprocal. So I'm multiplying both sides by 4. That's helpful. There's like 2 other seats over there. Or 3. So that leaves us with n is less than or equal to -8. All right, the sum of -3, these are okay. -3, and since it said the sum, we're gonna put a plus where the and is. 4 times a number is no more than -11. So if it's no more than -11, it could be equal to, but it can't be any more than, so it cannot be greater than, it's gotta be less than. So then I would, they like to clap a lot.
Yeah, they do. Why are they what class is it? Oh.
Parent. So I would add 3 to both sides. So 4n is less than or equal to -8. When I divide by no, she has been working at the ad building. No,
Yeah.
the administration building.
I'm not, where is that?
When you wake up from your nap, you gotta go potty.
Yeah, that's what my dog does. Me too.
All right. So this one, I feel like we could read a couple different ways. So half of the sum and a number. So we really have to take a sum of a number and 5 and then divide it by 2 to take half of it, right? Is a maximum of 10. So it could be less than or equal to 10. It can't be any more. There's our maximum. So again, I would multiply both sides by 2. We did a couple like these.
Can I leave at 12:15 again?
You should probably like do your work and not worry about leaving right now.
Oh, I am good.
You got this problem written down even?
Half of it, yeah.
Get going.
Keep going, Peyton, come on.
So this becomes n plus 5 is less than or equal to 20. When I subtract 5, I have n is less than or equal to 15. It is.
It was like that.
All right, so we have, well, we could keep going. We could go through 13 and you could do the next 2 pages. Peter spent half the money on his gift card on coffee. He loaded another $10 onto the gift card. How much was on the gift card to begin with if he now has at least $40 on the card? So if he has at least $40, he has equal to or more than, right? So we're going to say it is greater than or equal to $40. Well, we got to try and figure out how to write that. So if he spent half of the money, so whatever he had divided by what? 2 plus,
You already don't have to do this yourself right now.
plus he, well, I have to think about it. Plus he loaded another $10, right? So we could say n divided by 2 plus what he added to it to figure out what was on the card. If we,
Me personally, I can.
so we're trying to figure out how much it was before he did, yes. Oh, then move. You can sit in Allison's seat too. She doesn't need to see. She's just taking a nap. All right. So here I would say n divided by 2 plus 10 is greater than or equal to 40. I would subtract 10 from both sides. So n divided by 2 is greater than or equal to 30. And then to undo dividing by 2, I have to multiply both sides by 2. So n is greater than or equal to 60.
It is hot. Did you know that?
Yep, Megan, you're also wearing a hoodie and fleece pants. So there's that. Okay. Megan wants to spend no more than $300. So less than, right? If it's no more than $300. Could it be equal to that?
Yeah.
I guess, right? No more than $300. That's her maximum. She spent $75 on food and wants to buy decorations that are $10 each. So $75 on food plus 10 times the number of decorations. So we're trying to see how many decorations we can buy. So we would solve this by getting rid of our constant, right? So I'm going to subtract 25 from each side. I'm sorry, 75. So 10n is less than or equal to 225. What do you need, my dear? When I divide this by 10, we can see how many decorations. Our solution, can you buy part of a decoration?
No.
Not usually. So if I was dividing this by 10, it would be 2.5. But how many decorations can she buy? She can buy 22, right? Now, our answer really is n has to be less than or equal to 22.5 decorations.
Oh my God. My stomach is burning.
But typically we can't ask stores to split packages or decorations in half so we can buy half of them, right? I can only afford half of this, so.
Can I just cut this TV or computer in half for me so I can just take half?
Right. So our solution to this question, she could buy 22 or less, I guess we could say.
My stomach is burning.
Up to 22. A moving truck can carry no more than. So less than or equal to 1.480. Brian loaded 640 pounds into the truck already, and he's loading boxes that weigh 70 pounds. So we have 640, that's already on there, plus 70-pound boxes. Each of those boxes costs 70, so we are multiplying that by the number of boxes. Sorry, is that a comma? I put it as a decimal and I should have just left it completely off. So when I rewrite this problem, I'm going to write 640 plus 70n is less than or equal to 1480. So that doesn't look like a decimal. So then I would get rid of my constant. So are you beginning to see where you would use these inequalities or equalities? So we have 70n is less than or equal to 14.8. I guess I could just write it down. 4.8. And if I divide these by 70, n has to be less than or equal to 840 divided by 70 is 12. So how many up to 12? Yep. The 7th grade class is putting on a fundraising dance. They pay $400 for the hall and then, oh, this one's different. How many tickets will they need to sell if they want to profit at least $14.95? So they're gaining I'll write it down here, 15 times the number of tickets, right? But from what they're gaining there, they have to pay for the hall rental. So are we gonna add the 400 or take it away? Take it away, excellent. So they're gonna subtract $400. So if they want to profit at least $14.95, we want this to be greater than or equal to $14.95, okay? Does that make sense? You will start to see keywords, at least. You can use this packet on the quiz, right? So, oh, I have one that says at least. So I'm going to use greater than or equal to, right? I have one that tells me that I have a limit. It can carry no more than. So that one's going to be less than or equal to. You should be able to use these clues. 15n minus 400 is greater than or equal to 1495. So when I add 400, I'm really wanting to make more than 1895, right? By selling tickets so that I can profit all that. So when I divide 1895 by 15, well, we can't sell a third of a ticket here, right? So what happens is we could just say, oh, this one's a little different because my answer here would be greater than or equal to 126.3 repeating, which means how many tickets do I actually have to sell? 127, right? Because I can't sell a third of a ticket, but I need that much to make at least that. So 127 or more. I mean, at this point, if you get to this point, we're okay. Thinking past this is a real world skill, but we'll get there slowly but surely. Nancy has $240 in the bank. She wants to buy as many $15 video games as possible, but she wants to keep at least $120 in the bank. So she wants to have greater than or equal to $120. So she's starting with this 240. If she's buying them, is she gaining or losing 15? Losing from her bank account, right? So minus 15 times the number of gains. Yes. Yeah, whatever you need to do. So 240 minus 15n is greater than or equal to 120. So if I subtract 240 here, I have negative 15n is greater than or equal to negative, 120. But when I divide by a negative, I have to flip the sign. Very good. So n is 120 divided by 15, 8. So up to 8 video games, right? If you could definitely write your answer in words with a label, I'll definitely give you extra credit on the quiz. A taxi charges a $2.35 fee plus 55 cents per mile. Melissa has no more than $15, so that's a limit. So it's got to be less than or equal to the $15 she has to spend on her taxi ride. How many miles can she go? So the fee is $2.35 plus this mile charge, right? 0.55 N. So we've got decimals in a two-step equation. Don't freak out. 2.35 plus 55 hundredths times N is equal to, I'm sorry, is less than or equal to 15. I would get rid of the fee first because that comes out of the $15 first. If that's coming out first, I'm left with the rate of 55 cents times the number of miles I'm going. And only 15 minus 2.35, $12.65. So if I divide the cost per mile, divide that by the cost per mile, I should say. I am saying divided by 0.55, I can go less than or equal to 23 miles. And then I've got to get out and walk, right? So 23 miles or less. All right. So I know these are much more time consuming. We've only got about 20 minutes. So be sure, maybe get a good start on that first page on page 12. We'll go over some more of these on Monday with our review for more practice. We'll go over the review. We should be taking a quiz on Tuesday.
What? There's a quiz on Tuesday for this? Whoa, that's a bit much, man. Well, can I take the other one either on Wednesday or Monday?